I love movies.
What day is it? What year?
Who are you to even think you can know the difference between good and evil?
I love movies.
What are you doing?
Yet from an infinite number of possibilities, you had to pick this one.
Fiction. I love watching them.
It's a perfectly valid explanation.
I got that beat.
Film. Cinema.
I'm your Huckleberry.
I want you to remember this moment. The way it could have gone didn't.
When does the pain end and the pleasure begin?
I guess we just need an intro, huh?
Bro safe.
Bro safe. Nerd alert. Man, this has sounded really nice.
I love it.
I don't know. How much of that is the microphone and how much is that your voice?
It's like 90% my microphone. I have a really douchey voice. So all you need to do is spend $200 on an AKG 420.
That sounds really.
And you all get
really
the radio voice.
But
But in post,
no, it's
you
gonna
know,
last like 2 seconds.
in post I can kick up the bass a little bit. I can add a little reverb. I can
No,
do all
I'm
kinds
not-
of shit, you know?
No filter in me.
There, I guess that's better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
want to.
I'm not actually going to do any of that,
What-
but
I
I'm
guess
saying I
auto-tune
can
is-
do it.
The audio version of Instagram filters, right? Auto tune.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, there's an idea. We could just auto-tune the podcast, and then we're like, now we're a boy band.
All right, so we needed. All right, so
This is like our idle chatter before the actual episode starts.
first topic.
But-
what is our intro?
Yeah, so I think we do
Who
need-
are we?
We do need an intro.
Well, all right. Did we all decide that Bro Safe Nerd Alert is what we're going to kind of roll with?
I like it.
Hi, this is Bro Safe Nerd Alert, and I'm Michael.
I'm John.
And I'm Chris, and we're three douchebags.
And this is some asshole talk.
Yeah.
Coming to you on episode 0.
Is that our first segment is asshole talk?
Sure.
Yeah. Perfect.
So fuck emojis.
All right, I guess we're going right to it.
Yeah.
Fuck emojis.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So Bro Safe Nerd Alert is a group chat that the three of us have been participating in for years. Has it been years?
Probably.
It feels like years.
My kid's 7 now. I like
I want to say
amount of time that's passed is at least 5 years.
Yeah.
Since anything I've done recently.
Holy hell.
when I first met John, we had stupid chats going, and then I was like, let's bring Chris into this. He's nerdy too.
Yeah.
It had to be at least when
you're like,
PCs were built, right? So that would have been
It
at
would-
least 2 years ago.
If we tracked it all the way back, I think it was before Jack was born. I want to say.
Really?
Yeah, but we changed the name of it. Wasn't it something else before that? Or
I don't remember it being anything else other than Bro Safe Nerd Alert, and I do love the name.
I can't remember what I did last week. So
I find it very, very prescient
Oh,
to the
yeah.
subjects involved that bounce between
right,
nerdy shit and
we
needing to vent and like not be
right.
judged.
We not so ironically made a safe space for our broness.
Yeah, I guess probably if we're really telling the history, we can say there was an older group chat that's still kind of going on in one shape or another that has both of your wives in it and a bunch of other local
yeah.
friends. Yeah, and so I think the Bro Safe was created by you as kind of a, maybe the wives don't want to hear about Dungeons and Dragons that much.
Yeah. It was like, we're going to
100%.
talk about magic cards. Guys,
Yeah.
let me tell you about this card I got.
So I think, the name could be interpreted as like a, kind of like a no girls allowed misogynistic sort
Right.
of like thing. But I think what it really is we were embarrassed.
We were like, I mean, I could share everything with Amy, but
Yeah. And we're going to have to throw that pug the hell out of here.
we've got a pug.
I hate to do this to you, Michael, but you're closest to the heater.
All right, hang on a second.
All right, now that it doesn't have headphones on.
I know you had a name for episode 1, but how the sausage is made might be a good one.
I just realized there's a whole bunch of machine guns on that speaker.
Yeah. So, do you want to hear that story?
I do.
So the reason why there's a bunch of machine guns on that speaker was I'm like, equal parts punk rock and arts and crafts. There you
Okay.
go. That's the short version. The longer version is
That explains it.
there's an action figure that I found at Dollar Tree that's probably the shittiest fucking shit ever, right? It's like this guy with a mullet and a big briefcase and a big gun and a smaller gun that's still a machine gun. We're going to go way into like the
Bought 20
obscurity.
of them?
Oh,
I bought 20 of them.
I see that.
That's the great thing about Dollar Tree is they're only $1 a piece. If you check out this artist Jarvis Rockwell, it's actually Norman Rockwell's son. He makes dioramas out of large quantities of action figures. So I was actually kind of inspired by his work to, I'm going to buy a bunch of these action figures because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm going to figure out what art I can make with it. I didn't have a plan.
I like how one is turned the other way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but
This is your fascist destroyer.
yeah, exactly. That's right. This bass amp destroys fascists. Exactly. Woody Guthrie reference. So we're going to use the action figures. Domenico's being a 14-year-old boy. My son Domenico's really into burning shit. So we're probably going to
okay.
burn the action figures and film it in
No
slow-mo.
Oh, that would be great.
And then he can
Maybe
use it in one of his videos. I was actually going to talk to you about that.
We should put that in one of his videos. We were talking about using all the grungy locations in Brunswick, and I was like, oh, this is great. Hopefully Brunswick never changes.
You just mean the locations?
Yeah. I was a little slow on the uptake for that one. I was like, oh.
Keep staring.
Yeah.
When I say go lay down, I'm talking, there's a pug in the room with us.
That's why we're deciding to go first names only so that we don't inadvertently give yourself bad
Well, your
publicity.
microphone's sending all of this to China, so
Yeah.
it doesn't.
No, we decided not to use that microphone.
Somewhere Wong is like,
It's still on. It's still.
Coming to you live from the Wuhan province.
yeah. I give you coronavirus. Get out of here with that.
See,
I just
he
got over
actually
the
has
flu.
the virus now. That would be the real irony, is if he got us sick and we all died, and this was the only episode.
Episode
the only
first,
irony?
the zero and the last.
That's right.
So yeah, why don't you guys? I'm gonna say Chris first. Why don't you tell us what you're doing? We're doing a roundtable thing right now, and I want to say, tell us what you're working on. Tell us what you're listening to. Tell us what you're watching. What are you doing with your life?
Oh, okay. All right. So as far as maybe dividing it up into consuming art and then making art. On the consuming art front, I'm watching a lot of horror movies. My girlfriend and I signed up for Shudder, and I'm pretty naive with what's happening in horror. I haven't gone that deep into the genre, and I'm really, in large part because of the horror movies I was exposed to were the just real cheesy ass shit in the 80s. No offense to Nightmare on Elm Street 6.
Oh yeah,
But it's just that doesn't draw me in.
good stuff.
At 12 it drew me in.
It's the bubblegum of the genre,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Just like there's pop of every. Not to jump on your segment here.
John's
we've
going
got
to tell you what I've been listening to.
this is
No.
going to be non sequitur, the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut up.
Or it could be, we have a whole episode devoted to segues too.
I want
Yeah,
to
there
hear
you go.
about your explorations in horror.
Oh, so I've watched a lot of really cool and crazy, new horror movies. I've really enjoyed Midsummer. It was pretty disturbing when the old dude jumped off the cliff. I was like, what the hell is this?
Spoilers, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah, don't get too attached to the old dude. And
just-
also Mandy, I watched Mandy with, it's like
Nick Cage.
it's like, wait a minute, Nicolas Cage is actually in a created new work that isn't just a complete self-parody and
He's
garbage.
done since The Rock.
I'm gonna step on your dick too and say since we were talking about this earlier, I definitely want to see Color Out of Space. That's my next
Yeah.
Nick Cage adventure, and it's supposed to be by the same producers that did
no.
Mandy. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, we need that. I need that in my life.
Oh, that's a no-brainer. That's
I want you to keep talking about your thing, but I
Yeah.
just wanted
No, jump in.
But the aesthetic of Mandy, there's just
Yeah.
so much in there
Oh, yeah.
that I don't know if it's a good thing that speaks to me right now.
it's a lot. It's just a lot of purple and a lot of darkness and
Yes.
contrast and a lot of just
Right, I don't-
sloppy blood.
It's
I
my
don't know if I really want to delve into it, but it spoke to me.
It's my least
Right
favorite movement in film right now is the magenta and blue, which everybody is doing. I mean, it looks great. Don't get me wrong. Like visually, when you see a movie and it's got like the striking magenta blue contrasts, which is better, I think, than like the teal and orange movement of like the early thousands and the Michael Bay movies and stuff, like where everything was teal and fucking orange.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's all magenta and blue, and it's like, well, I guess that's where we're going. And then, I mean, Color Out of Space, it's fully devoted to it.
I mean, image plus Instagram filter equals
Right.
art, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's kind of the equation. They're just, picking different palettes. So, so to dive back into movies that I'm watching, I want to talk about one that I know I've already yammered on at length in the various group chats about, which is Dogs Don't Wear Pants. And
Oh, yeah.
and I was joking with my girlfriend that they could have made an alternate poster for Dogs Don't Wear Pants that's just like a cute puppy on the front of it. It would have been like the best troll, because it would have completely just been this misleading, ridiculousness. So
Right. This is not Isle of Dogs.
yeah, exactly. And it's not Milo and Otis
Right,
either. Yeah. I'm actually gonna save my the details on that, because I'd like to bundle
Was he
that in
finished?
maybe with the secretary and to do like a
Fuck yeah.
like
dude.
like here's like we could do an episode devoted to like BDSM movies. You know?
Okay.
Oh, all
Do we
right.
have the staff for that?
The staff for what? For Googling something?
Yeah.
Well, Michael brought his laptop.
I'm
so
burnt doing it right now. No, it's
that's what he said.
because Sex Lies and Videotape. Like, I want to do a James Spader. That would be the tie-in.
Spader.
Because
Okay.
we've got James Spader, who did Sex Lies and Videotape, which is one of my favorite movies, and then you've got The Secretary, which is like basically the 50 Shades of Grey ripped it off story.
Oh man, I was even
no.
going to suggest that we
No,
just
ripped off.
not use 50 Shades of Grey in the BDSM episode, because I think it's just
No,
It's
no, of course
Twilight
not.
fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is.
It's The Secretary is so like on such a
went to
higher
pub-
level compared to
Yeah. Well, it's
50
like
Shades of Grey.
BDSM minus consent, right? So
Yeah,
that's like
exactly.
no bueno, John Dayton.
Which I got the backstory of No Bueno John Dayton.
We will not be sharing that in the podcast. You'll just have to wonder.
People are just gonna have to deal with all of our inside joke talk.
That's
I don't,
right.
I don't mind. Like, if they're curious about it, they can ask us later in the comments.
In the unlikely event that we actually,
Are there other people?
There will be.
yeah, if we get any listeners, feel free to submit your fan fiction as to what you think the phrase "no bueno, John Dayton" means. Okay, so that's the movies I've been watching. Music I've been listening to has been the early Beatles albums, like the first couple of Beatles albums, and I'm historically I haven't been a fan of early Beatles, but I was invited to play bass in a punk rock band that were focusing exclusively on doing punk rock versions of early Beatles songs, and I love the psychedelic from Rubber Soul on. Through the end of their career, Beatles. This is new territory for me, even though this is music that was made in 1962. So
I want to do music videos with that.
Awesome.
So when you guys are ready,
awesome,
let's pull the trigger.
cool. It'd be like middle-aged punk rock.
Oh, dude.
Your challenge as a filmmaker is to make that not depressing.
Well, what's cool, I mean, not you could go on all day, but what's cool with the Beatles, I think, is just their entire discography is basically any type of contemporary music that's being made.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
be found in a bar.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Any Beatles song that exists in their discography, from metal to
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that you could get EDM out of not having electronic equipment.
It references and informs so much of the music that we have today. It's just you can't get around it.
And I feel like as artists, they did a good job of, they became so popular, and really amp technology of the day was such that they had to stop performing live. It just, they couldn't perform live. People were screaming, the amps weren't loud enough, they couldn't work it out. So they shifted gears to focus exclusively on writing songs.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so, and I think that they really made the most of that, you know? And, man, anyway, this ain't a Beatles podcast, but they remain consistently one of my favorite bands.
All right, so we'll put that in for a later episode. We've got James Spader, and we've got Secretary for a later episode, and then maybe we could touch on the Beatles and their influences on.
I mean, we could do an episode on Beatles movies. They're all just
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous.
How about Beetlejuice?
Excellent. Throw that in there too. Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Beetlejuice? Oh, well, you know what? I want to hear what John's been getting into lately, but super quick. Just like one of your favorite films that pops into your head, like right now.
Dude, you can't fucking ask that.
Doesn't have to be a
You
film.
cut him to the quick.
I know. Is that kind of like I should be, kind of doing a bit more foreplay before I go right in for that? Or I'm going to say the Miyazaki film, My Neighbor Totoro. It's totally this rated G.
I'm not familiar with that.
It's so beautiful.
Tell me about that.
All right, this is not what popped in my head, but having the fortune of having conscious thought. I mean, my Princess Mononoke is easily one of my.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Not just from visually, but like the morality tale that exists in there, I think is very prescient. That's the second time I've used this in the last 20 minutes.
It's the word of the hour.
More than I've used it in 5 years, but I find it very relevant to our modern era because it's a story of like nature versus nurture. It's a story of nature versus
war, industrialism,
corporatization and industry. Like and it's gray in all of it, right? It doesn't. I don't think the movie privileges one side. Like there's a hero, but the hero in and of himself is always constantly trying to bridge all the sides. Like the hero doesn't have a voice to me. Like to me, not this Mononoke fucking podcast, but anyways.
no, by all means, talk about it, dude.
Miyazaki films absolutely needs to be its own episode.
No, 100%.
So,
Spirited Away is amazing.
Yeah,
because I'm thinking
have you ever seen Nausicaa?
I've seen Nausicaa and I've seen Spirited Away. I actually don't think I've seen Princess Mononoke.
Dude, I showed it to Hannah when she was like 3, and she liked it. And it's a fairly...
you showed Princess Mononoke to your 3-year-old daughter?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a Puritan by any stretch of the means, as the both of you know, but wow.
No, and I think overall it's fine, but there is one scene where a guy gets his head shot off with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
That, like, in a movie that really is not very violent. I mean, there's violence in it, but it's not explicit by any means, particularly in context of everything else that exists. But there's that one scene. I'm like, it's like 5 seconds would be great.
Okay, since we're touching on that subject, I want to talk about things that you let your kids watch. Because my son's 3, and I let him watch just about everything I watch.
I don't really curate very well.
But he's getting to a point now where it's starting to affect him, and I'm like, I have to cover your eyes because you're watching this, and it's obviously going to affect you and make you a serial killer.
I just want to say, I snuck downstairs when I was 10 years old and turned on HBO after my parents had fallen asleep, and I watched A Clockwork Orange.
Leave that alone! Don't touch it!
And I turned out perfectly normal.
All right, so no.
Normal. Air quotes. Giant fucking air quotes.
Insert laugh track here.
Anyway, I think it's more about your reaction to the content in front of your children than it is the content themselves.
Yeah.
Because when depending on the age, right, as they get older, they have more context for stuff. And so they start interpreting things without actually thinking about it. But
they're right.
At the younger age,
they're more in the moment.
It's just a bunch of stimuli. There's no ingrained reaction yet, right?
We hope.
And as they,
we'll find out in 20 to 30 years.
Exactly. When he starts eating people.
Yeah.
So far, my kids apparently behave very well at school, which is surprising.
Like, what was it? I was just watching this movie called Girl on the Floor. Not to step on your dick because I know you were talking, John, but like I watched this movie with Amy the other night called Girl on the Third Floor, and holy shit, this movie is great because it would go right in with our BDSM episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this guy fixing up a house, and it was sort of like a riff on like the traditional haunted house tropes and stuff. So like the house has like this girl that's walking around that's like the embodiment of like the hauntedness, and he's just like getting it on with her like all the time. But it's like really freaky too because like he's taking the house apart and it's like jizzing on him and like things are coming out of the walls and like it's bleeding and things like that. There's all this like bodily fluid in the house. And Jax was watching it and I was like, oh my God, cover your eyes. I can't let you watch this now. He's like in like total rapture mode, just like seeing this. Like, what is that?
If your son 20 years from now becomes a carpenter, then we'll know. We'll know, why that happened.
Right.
A carpenter with a healthy catalog of fetishes. Yeah.
But I would recommend it if you guys get a chance. I'd say watch Girl on the Third Floor. Good.
So, John, we digressed.
Yep.
I think it was like an Inception digression, which I think we're going to get a lot of here. So, what else?
More of a Mobius strip kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
Oh, yeah.
You don't like sharp angles.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's
I'm not folding planets. They curve.
I'm imagining you driving on a Mobius strip, 16 car
3
lengths
seconds.
behind the car in front of you.
The length of the car is not what matters. It's the time. It's the time between.
Exactly.
I just started thinking about the movie Pi. Sorry, there's a movie reference for everything.
All right,
because
you
of
gotta connect that before I continue.
No, because of the seashell shape. What's that called again?
The Fibonacci sequence.
Fibonacci sequence. That was just exactly what I was imagining when I think Chris brought it up, and I was like, oh, like Pi.
Yeah.
In my internal monologue. You've seen Pi, right?
No.
What?
I know.
Oh my
There's
God.
a tiger in a boat.
So it's not
That's
really
the
a pet
point. I
peeve,
think-
but it's something that I know. Oh, I have seen that. The Tiger in the Boat movie.
No, that's not the Tiger in the Boat movie.
There's a tiger in a boat.
There is a Tiger in a Boat movie,
This
but
is
that's
facts.
Isn't that Life of Pi?
Yes,
Yes.
it is Life of Pi.
So is Pi the sequel or the prequel?
Wait, what is Pi? what
Those
you
are your
talking
only
about?
two choices.
Am I wrong? I clearly thought of the wrong thing.
Life of Pi has that one guy in it.
Was he in Slumdog?
Jan Mart. No, that's not it.
You can throw the name in and post in a completely different voice where it's like
Right.
Yul Brynner.
Please dub this.
Yeah. Please dump this.
No, it's got that Indian actor in it. The one from fucking
Slumdog.
Slumdog Millionaire. But Pi.
Oh yes. Okay. Yep. Those are not the same thing.
No, not by close. Yeah, it's
Yes.
Yeah, it's Darren Aronofsky. Thankfully, I was right, so I don't have to edit this later. I was like, oh wait, who is that director
you're
again?
good.
I had to look it up.
Yeah, you're the editor. It sounds like you volunteered for that like painful task of
Hey, I don't mind.
Not only
'Cause he
wasting
did.
an hour of your life, but wasting a second hour of your life, reliving the hour of your life that you wasted before.
It's a
So
super.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a super artsy fartsy, black and white, sci-fi kind of movie, and it's really mind trippy. It's a big art house film that like all college kids at that time were like, oh yeah, I love Pi. You don't really love it. You just watched it. you know?
yeah, right on. Homer Simpson also loves pie.
Yeah. We don't have to go that deep into Pi. We could have an Aronofsky episode if we really wanted to, because there's so much of that.
I do think we need a scoreboard for. Now, you had that very kind of natural human reaction to somebody not seeing a movie that you really like, which is the, oh my God, you haven't seen Jaws?
What?
Yeah. Like there's like that moment where it's like, and I don't know if it's because the movie is so ubiquitous or it's because the movie is just you love it that much or a combination of the two or what, but that's
Right.
I have had so many people like, and I've sent and received that transaction with so many people over the course of my life. I think that it would be really cool if, so not only should we keep score, but I would love to hear a supercut, like 15 episodes in of just us having that reaction. We're not going to react that way for another 2 or 3 episodes because now that
Now that you pointed
now
it
that
out.
I pointed it out, but eventually we will eventually
I'm
slip
on the
back
Sharks
into.
cat, dude.
You've never seen Godfather Part 7?
Okay,
I literally say this about everything now.
okay, like there are a lot of obscure films out there that we could have that reaction for, but there are so many, like, this is why I wanted
You
to
just
do
talked
this.
about how pedestrian it was.
Wait, what? For Pi?
Yeah.
No.
Because everyone who liked art, like if you can say if everyone that.
Okay, in 2004, sure, but like nowadays,
How old
it's
are we?
It depends on who you ask.
yeah. Okay.
I stopped living apparently after 2007.
Is that roughly when your children were born? Because that I went from the time that my son was born
a little bit
until
later.
2 years ago. It's a complete blackout on pop culture or movies.
Yeah,
like
that's
I've gone back and watched some stuff. I'm like, oh my God, they
know,
made Lord of the Rings movies.
I thought like maybe it's just because I'm paying that much attention to my children. It's 100%. That's the last time I had sleep.
Yeah.
I can no longer form long-term memories.
That's how good of a father you are. That's what you're saying
Yeah,
now. And
John-
let's take a moment for a victory lap.
No.
I think you're both really good dads.
Oh, thanks, man. I think John's like a masochist dad. Like,
I'm going to just interject random, like, sincere compliments
That would
and
be amazing.
kindness just to fuck you guys up.
I need
I'm not even going to mean half of it. I just want to see the reaction.
it'll all sound weird to me because
it'll sound better than our chat this morning.
I
That we
don't
were
know how to
arguing
respond
about
to
like
sincere-
the creep
sincere
of the scope.
I feel really bad about that.
no.
We brought out the bear talking about Midsummer. I was like, oh, he likes Midsummer probably because he imagines himself in the bear costume.
There's been, like,
I haven't
versions of
imagined
the
myself
pitch.
in the bear costume yet, but I'm going to have some shitty dreams tonight in which that happens, probably. That movie haunts me.
Wait, you've seen Midsummer, right?
No, I wasn't fucking joking about the spoiler alert earlier.
May I take this one?
Yes.
You
Spoiler
haven't
alert.
seen Midsummer?
I have not seen Midsommar. No.
All right, well, that's your homework assignment, John Dayton.
Okay, we were just talking about how
It's
I
on
have
Prime.
not had
No excuse.
pop culture since my children were born.
Well, then you should be
That
the
was
one telling
January
Mike you can't
30th.
watch 15 bear movies in
January
time for
30th.
episode 2.
2013.
All right, so the joke is I have 4 bear movies picked out, which we're going to eventually talk about, hopefully.
I started watching Backcountry and then I stopped.
I've seen. Is the Anthony
I'm remodeling
Hopkins.
my laundry room.
The Edge,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, I have seen
Yes,
that. As a
that.
matter of fact, my friend Pat and I, to this day, because we watched it together when it first came out.
Yeah.
He will, when I ask him how he's doing, he'll say, "I'm not 100% Charles." Right? That's specifically a line from that movie.
Right,
So, yeah. So that one,
Charles!
I do need to watch it again. but
Oh my god, yeah. I just watched it with Amy. It's so good.
They
It's
should
like
have
They
just.
all look good.
it's like the philosophical like that one
I'm
was supposed to be
curi-
the philosophical meat that was gonna get John Dayton
I'm-
going because it's like about man versus nature, like
And
distilled.
he
No,
makes
what-
a lens or a magnifying glass and starts a fire from ice. And I remember the other line. Every line in the movie ends with the name Charles. Fire from ice, Charles.
He says the name Charles about 80 times in the
Yeah.
movie. I think I read.
There's another supercut.
Yeah.
Just him saying Charles.
Charles! Charles!
I don't want to know how, Charles! I'm not in a very humorous mood, Charles. What are we gonna do, Charles? What are we gonna do, Charles? I don't know, Charles. I don't think it'll work, Charles. Can't kill the bear, Charles. Charles!
So you haven't
it my
slept.
turn?
Okay, I get it. Like you haven't slept in 20 years or however
what I
many
said.
babies you have now.
Yep.
I get it because like my son is my barnacle
No.
too. Last night he literally had his arms and his legs wrapped around me for body heat. And he's under the cover.
I think there's myriad reasons why that feeling that Chris was talking about, where like there to me, like if I look at pictures of myself before kids, it's like looking at someone else's photo album.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
it's a whole nother life.
It feels very, very distant and different.
Before your ego,
even.
before your ego was sucked out of your soul. I think unless you're a
that
total
how it
narcissist,
works?
then I think you can, well, I mean, just serving a helpless little human, you have.
Oh, 100 yeah.
It rewires you.
My children, on the other hand, have consistently been a cockblock. I don't know if
Oh,
that's what
man.
you were intending.
They inherently are cock blockers, and it's the most ironic thing ever, considering how they
no.
arrived on this planet.
Yeah, right.
Not.
I'm just gonna sit here and laugh.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw these points to ponder, and it's going to spin John's brain into this, like,
I see the gears turning.
yeah, John's over there relating it to, like, he's like the guy trying to figure out where the serial killer, he has all the little, points
Don't make
on the
fun of my
map.
yarn.
Okay,
No, exactly. He's
John's-
like, how does this relate to Zarathustra?
Anyway, John's pulling out like the evolution of morals or whatever the Nietzsche book is. and-
Geology.
Genealogy of morals. I've had 2 beers. All right, give me a break.
Did you say the geology of morals?
No, I said the evolution of morals.
I said evolution.
Yeah, evolution of morals. So he's pulling out Nietzsche, and he's like, "How does this?
I mean, that's not
How can I
a
make
bad
this?"
interpretation.
No, not at all.
I mean, it's
I
like,
mean, he wrote it in German, but
Hey, I started reading it because I wanted to get on John's like intellectual level. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to I need to educate myself.
Is that
But
all
I
it
was like,
takes?
him arguing about like a whole essay about the word good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, fuck my life. Like, God damn it, John Dayton. No bueno, John Dayton.
Yeah, exactly.
my
one
head.
point for Tut Hill. Ooh, I said the last name. Edit that out.
Okay. One point.
Wait.
I'm actually just by
I only
myself
want to
here.
go by my last name.
That's right. We've been saying Dayton this whole time.
Have we?
I think so.
Well, we said it
Certainly
now.
said it now.
Can we have another disclaimer, just like a clean disclaimer, just in case we do get, because obviously all people are gonna have to do is Google and be like, oh,
No, again, I mean, I was joking. Like, there's no sense of privacy. Like, nothing.
yeah,
I think that it's a privacy through obscurity because we're going to upload this to iTunes. We don't even know how to do that yet. And nobody's ever going to listen to it except us. So our privacy is most likely going to be intact.
That's
Okay,
how TSA works.
I promise 50 people will listen to this podcast. We will get there. Okay, we're gonna. 50 people is an admirable goal.
Yeah, right on. I think we can make it happen.
Where were you at, John? You were talking
no,
about
that's what I'm
kids.
trying to remember what.
You were talking about kids.
Right, I know. Yeah, no kids.
Prescient.
It's the third time.
We're keeping a lot of scores today.
No, the thought's gone, which is fine because I haven't had sleep in
He brings it back around. Very good.
7 years.
I highly recommend getting a babysitter for the weekend, going away with your spouse. Try not to make another baby. Maybe just take a nap. Get a hotel room and take a nap.
Try not to have number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's my life right now. No, we were talking about making babies, and them being and then babies as they grow become cock blocks.
Yeah.
And so I was gonna make a comment on how I have one of the biggest among many physiological impacts of having kids. Mm-hmm. For me, and this is maybe somehow highlighting the disparity of men and women in the process of child rearing. My biggest takeaway is that just sex has changed because you're trying to get it between kids being asleep and either not in the room or far
Right.
enough
They're downstairs.
outside of the room
Yeah.
or whatever. And so I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at right now because I still have 2. Maggie sleeps in her room. Hannah for the last 2 weeks has slept in her room. Eli still sleeps on our couch and will wake up and get in our bed. And so with all those things in mind, so what have I been doing right now? So I film-wise, I haven't really watched anything worth mentioning. I don't think.
What? Oh man, everything's worth mentioning.
No. There's been a lot of Frozen 2 in my life.
You know what? We could talk
Let's
about
talk about
Frozen. I think Frozen
I cried.
is so fucking overrated. I'm sorry. The
what?
first Frozen is bad compared to a lot of other animated features of that same quality. No.
To this animosity for this film that you're hanging on to, I say simply, let it go.
Oh, fuck you.
I mean, I don't.
There's a point dinger right there
I
for Chris.
know.
Like, ding.
Yeah. I don't actually disagree with that opinion at all.
Okay, watch Coco. All right, that's a good animated film that came out about the same time. Watch.
It was 2 years earlier. But Coco is good.
That's how dialed into kids' movies John is.
You know-
He knows the dates.
Okay, I don't know the dates.
That's why they call him John Dayton.
I don't know the Daytons, but
Dayton is like Latin for remembers dates.
I think that's
okay.
how the family name
Then How to
started.
Train Your Dragon. That's a good one too.
I enjoyed. They made 15 of them. I enjoyed the
fucking
first
Frozen is fine.
Finding
It's
Dory,
fi-
Toy Story
What is
3.
what is wrong? What is structurally wrong with the movie Frozen?
You know
It's
what?
different than every other film that exists where
not-
it stole someone else's culture and made it into a movie.
You know what I hated about? So they appropriate. Okay, so they. All right, Coco did not appropriate culture. I didn't. Well, okay, maybe it did.
They all fight.
Yeah, all right. I think what was wrong with Frozen was just that it felt like what do they call it? It's like a musical jukebox where it's you just take songs and build the movie around those songs, and it's like everything else kind of gets left by the wayside, like the meaning or like any sort of other deeper feeling. Like I watched it and I was like, okay, well that was fine, but I didn't feel anything for any of these characters or anything like that.
I feel like that's how musicals are made, though.
Place?
Okay, but at the end of Coco, when he's playing like
you hit me right in the feels.
Mi Familia, whatever, at the end of Coco, like I honestly like that pulls in my heartstrings every time I watch that.
No, I get it.
And I'm like, I'm almost tearing up just thinking about it. And I'm like,
you had a girl who, by her no fault of her own, was born into a circumstance that no one else literally on the planet could relate to, and didn't know how to express herself, and the result ended up hurting people around her, only to try and reconcile with her family later.
And
like, that's the fucking...
You're right, and
maybe I just hated the snowman or the
Olaf,
other stupid shit. That was
fucking...
I mean, you know, it's the R2-D2, C-3PO, Ewok thing. You know, there's always your little comic relief Muppets that they throw. No offense to the Muppets that they throw into kids' movies. You know,
we fucking turned this into an argument about Frozen.
You did this. No, you did this. Josh Gad is a hero. And a scholar and gentleman. That's where it took me way too long to get to there.
That's fine.
I don't have the staff.
A quick point to Michael's. They just took a song and like wrapped a movie around it. I feel like that's one of the two ways that you make a musical.
Yeah, right.
I was going to go there.
Yeah. It's like a Lars Berman movie where it's just basically like jukebox. Like we're going to make a movie out of a jukebox because we have Smells Like Teen Spirit.
And the other way to make a musical is if you're a member of a family in Austria during the rise of Nazi Germany, and then this terrible shit happens to you and you have to flee through the Alps, and then you kind of throw the songs on after the fact.
Oh, yeah. Was that...
That's Sound of Music.
Okay.
I was like, was that The Pianist?
Come on, you guys aren't into The Sound of Music? I mean, it's great, and not just because the Nazis are really the perfect movie villains.
That movie actually takes place during the Anschluss pre-World War II. I'm just point that out.
That's true. That's true. And
1938
living room. With the Lebensraum, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. The living room.
I got my fucking Nazi German.
Did you pull up a fact sheet about The Sound of Music while I was referencing it right then?
German.
I studied film in college.
Boom. Don't actually drop that mic because your other mic, the quality is not that great on it.
I have a useless film school degree. And I remember that factoid.
The Sound of Music for me was like the exception to the, I can't like musicals because I'm a dude.
There are good musicals out there. Okay, there aren't that many of them. Honestly, I hate most musicals.
I'm not a big fan of sing talking, which is what you get in movies and musicals, where you get that there's like a little in the background and the person's not singing, but he's like, and now we're talking over the thing. Yeah, he's talking to the rhythm, but it's in a very sort of like...
Now, prisoner 24601, your time is up and your parole's begun. You know what that means.
Yes, it means I'm free.
No.
And there's always, when somebody is sing-talking, and it's usually like in the beginning of a song, if not the, shoot me, the whole song. And there's always that other, one or more actors in the background who aren't sing-talking, but are paying attention to the person as if they're speaking normally, and they're nodding or they're reacting. Somebody like that in your entire life. And it's like, I would love to see in a musical just once if they had the person who wasn't singing.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading musical. I was looking up musicals that I actually liked, and I was like, Rocky Horror Picture Show? Okay, that counts.
Yeah, score. So anyway, rather than my tangent, I wouldn't mind talking about Rocky Horror Picture
Little Shop of Horrors, I could do that.
That's that's a great
Hedwig
one.
and the Angry Inch?
Beauty and the Beast, I guess I could
do
that.
I think that's my favorite musical.
Wizard of Oz, Willy Wonka.
I mean, that...
I don't know if it's my...
It legit rocks. It's not like it rocks for a musical. Like those songs, I've listened to those songs on their own. It was my ex hit me to that movie, and it's really good.
It's amazing.
The
if you haven't
songs are
seen
so
Hedwig and
solid.
the Angry Inch, dude, like
I haven't seen that.
You need the Angry Inch in your life.
Okay,
just all up in it.
Okay, but when we talk
Just
about like
the tip.
jukebox movies,
that's
like
all it is.
Did you guys just see The Grinch recently, which is that animated Grinch version from like 2017 or something like that?
I haven't.
It's stupid.
I've aged out of kids' movies at this point because my son is 14.
Yeah, so he's not going to watch any. But
I mean, I'm sure it's it, but it doesn't stick out.
I've served my
Whereas
time.
I cried in Frozen because it's a gem.
So
What's your point?
I don't know. I don't have any points. The Grinch sucked. That was my point.
that's good.
It's like it's trying to relate
right.
and be topical and include like modern music in a
No.
in a Grinch story.
You want to do a whole genealogy thing?
All right, we're going Nietzsche.
No, but Rocky Horror
Like the
is-
Mormons? Never mind. They're really into genealogy.
The genealogy is just a basic. What is the legacy and the?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways,
It
Rocky
made
Horror.
sense in my mind. Sorry.
No, it's a big family, and there's a lot of genealogy in a Mormon
Right.
family, but we all have the. Anyways, Rocky Horror Picture Show is an amazing movie. One that I'm not going to do it right now. Because
We could have a whole episode. That would be a spotlight episode. I mean, there's very few movies I feel like we could fill a lot of time about, but Rocky Horror is probably one of them.
Release that around Halloween.
Yeah.
I would honestly like to watch it like live almost,
Mm-hmm.
and then like do a thing, because Bud and I, who we're both very into the Nietzsche, and the Rocky Horror does a deconstruction on almost all of modern society, and it's amazing.
Right.
And just the way that it unpacks, because that's all genealogy is not to get into Nietzsche and then his legacy in Derrida, who is the founder of the deconstructive movement or anything.
I think you should get into it because I mean
Chris
I love Rocky Horror Picture Show, but just because of maybe surface level stuff or the interactivity when you go see it live, in a theater. But I haven't really dug that deep into it.
I haven't watched it probably in 10 years, and so I'm going by memory and what we talked about. But obviously, like if you've ever seen it, you should be able to connect to it. But the biggest thing is just the way that it deals with male and female genders and how.
Whatever happened to Saturday night?
Right on.
You were holding that in.
Oh, so long.
Where's the fucking camera? But that's just the start of it. Is the way the movie deals with the male and female gender and how it just explodes it into all of its constituent pieces and parts and turns them on their head and makes you. Hopefully, it would make.
They're
you
from the planet
question.
transsexual. Yeah, totally.
And it's so. I mean, that movie was definitely way ahead of its time in that regard. Where these are issues that I know that a lot of, I guess, a social issue of transgender people that, like, I think kids now, teenagers are on the front lines fighting this now. But it's funny how when you look at art's already reconciled this and incorporated it and celebrates it. And it's, I guess that's just up to the Luddites and the knuckleheads to eventually catch up, hopefully.
We've been doing this since the Greeks.
Oh, dude. This is why we brought John Dayton, man, because he's got to give us the historical context.
But what I'm going to say is like it. I mean, obviously with the Rocky Horror, it like immediately like very explicitly relates to trans issues.
Yeah.
But these aren't just issues of like someone who has gender dysphoria, right? This is literally anyone who exists, and because we're all forced into preconceived notions of what is male, what is female, what is masculine,
like
what is feminine,
the confines
what
of
is
our gender,
acceptable behavior or not, right?
Right.
And we all, to a certain degree or another, are on that spectrum, and certainly deal with the repercussions of deviating from the normalized spectrum.
Yeah.
People with gender dysphoria are on the extreme and have suffered the most because just their dysphoria is such, their uncomfortableness is enough that it manifests. Whereas,
well said.
All of us have been lucky enough in one way or another to like either hide it or compensate or whatever.
Right.
But it causes damage. It causes scars one way or the other.
Right.
It's just I haven't killed myself yet, which is what statistically is. Well,
I haven't climbed the RKO statue or the radio tower.
This just got super dark.
No, but I'm trying to listen to the response, right, to the pressure all of us feel in trying to manifest ourselves in a stereotypical, normalized way, right?
Right. So, do you see yourself more as a Brad or a Janet? Sorry.
Wow.
Ideally?
Yes.
Janet, man, she fucking lets loose, dude.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Susan Sarandon is pretty hot in the movie.
Indeed.
Me.
Yeah.
Bravo. I'm the only one who hasn't sung on this
It's coming.
episode 0. Oh, I have the song in my heart.
Oh, okay.
That was nice. Yeah. So what have I... So I haven't watched anything recently.
Yeah. Back to what you've been watching. So you haven't watched anything.
You've been
other than
hallucinating from lack of sleep.
Yeah.
No, I mean I've been watching some. I haven't really watched any movies that I would write home about, other than the most recent thing being the Star Wars movie, which we'll get to at some point someday.
Unfortunately, we are gonna have a spotlight, maybe on the trilogy. I guess maybe on all the Star Wars movies. We could probably fill multiple podcasts about that, but that will definitely come in a later episode.
But what I have watched, I've been watching The Good Place.
Good Place. What's that about?
It's everything we just talked about. So the Good Place.
Excuse me.
Have you heard of The Good Place, Chris?
No.
All right, fuck. So
Now you got to tell us about it.
Is there another beverage over there?
Oh yes, we have beverages.
I think we should try to reach out to local breweries to talk sponsorship.
Yeah, I would love to get a brew from. Here, do you want that last one?
No, I'm good. From Brian, from Smoketown.
Yeah, we could drink some delicious Brunswick brew since we're coming to you from Brunswick, Maryland.
Absolutely.
All right.
The heart of the
Good
Potomac.
Place. It is the heart. The Good Place. So it's a. All right.
It's a show.
I don't want to spoil it, and it's hard for me to describe it without.
Okay, why don't we just
die?
Oh wait, is Ted Danson in this?
Yes.
I've watched an episode of that. I'd actually
and Anna from fucking Frozen, and she's in Veronica Mars.
tying that in.
Tuthill's all over it now. That's
I'm getting
all
triggered.
You had to say.
Okay, so what we'll say is, for some things that are old or like in the zeitgeist, we'll say spoilers. You know, like we expect you to have watched this stuff.
I don't fuck the audience.
But if it's new and it's recent, maybe we'll avoid it and you can just dance around it. I don't know. Whatever you feel like.
I'm worried about your well-being.
Nothing surprises me anymore, man.
Kristen Bell.
I can't watch anything anymore.
Dancing. There's a number of other really good actors and actresses on there.
Mm-hmm.
But so the show is that people die and they go to the good place.
Yep.
And it turns out that it's not the good place. It's a scenario designed by a demon to torture them for the rest of their lives.
Oh.
one of the characters and then the show is a philosophy academic whose reason he is deemed to be tortured, right? Because he's in the bad. They're all in the bad place.
Right.
It looks like the good place, but it's not because it's because he can't make a decision because he just constantly like equivocates from one philosophical framework to the next. And then like Kristen Bell's character is just a terrible person from Arizona because everyone from Arizona, I think it's Arizona, is terrible. But anyways,
there goes our like one fan from Arizona 1 year from now. They're like, maybe I'll check out episode 0. And how dare he?
They're like, nope, they're biased.
Triggered.
So anyways, the show goes through how do they become good people? What does a good person look like? How do you make a person good? Is ultimately kind of where the show lands. I think they're on like their fifth or sixth season was the final season. So that's what I've been watching. I really enjoy it.
Wait, Kristen Bell, isn't she in
I find
new
the
Star
writing
Trek?
really good. What's that?
She's in the new Star Trek, isn't she?
I have no idea.
I believe she is.
Picard?
Yeah.
Kristen Bell.
Is she in Picard?
I was confusing her with another. I think I was
two.
confusing her with Anna Kendrick. That's why I was like,
No, she was in fucking Veronica Mars, dude.
Right. So
Veronica.
I just looked
Have
her
you
up.
watched Veronica Mars?
I was like, oh, her.
You know what? I don't.
Fuck.
I haven't seen it. And I
Rob
don't.
Thomas?
I don't even have the "I have small kids in the house" excuse.
No. Veronica Mars. Okay. Fuck.
John Dayton's like, I haven't watched anything.
No,
He went from "I haven't had sleep or time to see anything in 10 years" to and he gets a point for this.
Right.
You haven't seen Veronica Mars?
haven't seen that?
because it existed from like 2002 until 2007. That's pre-child. That's actually
That is a fact.
Marriage. And so, anyways, Veronica Mars is an amazing show with witty writing and characters, and I would recommend it.
Okay. All right. I'll keep that in the memory banks.
I'm gonna put that in with Gilmore Girls. Gilmore Girls is amazing.
Gilmore Girls is amazing. I watched that actually right around the same time I was watching what was that show? Evermore? Do you know which one I'm talking about? It was on the same network. And it had like the kid.
I think you're thinking of Dawson's Creek.
No.
I went from you know what?
Everwood. That's what you get when you wake up in the morning. You remember the show Everwood? No. It was on the same network. It was a whole thing. Anyway,
yeah, okay.
I watched yeah. Yeah, the dad's beard is magnificent.
So he's a doctor whose life has changed forever after his wife dies. That's literally also the beginning of
every show.
Dogs,
ever.
Well, and dogs don't wear pants.
I clearly didn't remember Everwood until I looked it up. Gilmore Girls, on the other hand, is really good.
Yeah.
Veronica Mars is also amazing, which goes back to what I've been watching was The Good Place, which is good. And I would recommend...
Bring us full circle, John Dayton.
I would recommend that you watch it. The music... my job moved recently within last December, in the beginning of December. And so I'm riding the train and the metro and have a lot more time for music. So a lot of my Amazon playlist is just instrumental, not really EDM, but electronic kind of some lo-fi, 80s synth kind of stuff has been dominating. And so on Amazon Music, you have the My Discovery Mix every Monday. You get 25 new songs that fits in there, right?
Right.
So that's generally what I listen to because it changes it up. Makes it safe and familiar enough that I'm comfortable, but it's new, so it keeps things interesting. So I've been doing that every week. So last week, there's a song on there. I'm like, fuck, I know this song. And then I'm like, wait, I know exactly what it fucking is from. It's from the Animatrix.
Wow, that's digging deep.
Now that I've seen.
And so I was like, oh shit, now I gotta listen to the whole fucking Animatrix soundtrack. So that's what I've been listening to for the last week.
Wow.
After this, random My Discovery Mix popped up.
Okay.
Whatever, Big Wednesday or where the fuck it was. So I've been listening to Animatrix, which reminded me, now I've been wanting to go back and rewatch the Animatrix because the Matrix, the first Matrix, I think the Animatrix came out before the other two sequels.
Yeah, it came out before 2 and 3.
And I don't want to talk about them.
No.
You're worried about spoiling the Matrix? I think at this point that cat's out of the bag.
No, I don't want to talk about them because while they were fine and I watched them, I don't think they did a good job of continuing the dilemmas that existed in the first film.
Can I interject?
I enjoyed them despite that.
Warner, this is
another way to say what I think what I meant.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say...
Go ahead.
I want you to.
Oh.
But I was going to say just the Animatrix I like because I think the Animatrix delved into them instead of trying to gloss over them and keep a successful franchise to make a lot of money and flashy stuff. And it had the flashy stuff, and I liked it. But anyway, I felt like the Animatrix did a really good job of delving into some of the ideas and nuance that exist that becomes possible in the world of the Matrix.
Right.
For sure.
And the fucking soundtrack was amazing. It was really good.
I will interject this. If we ever have a news segment for this podcast, Warner Brothers has officially confirmed that there's a 4th Matrix film in development.
I thought I heard something about
for May 2021. So that's pretty cool to know.
I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know either. If we have to talk about things we're looking forward to, I'm really looking forward to the Denis Villeneuve Dune that's coming out. I
hadn't heard about that.
Well, they just dropped the poster today, and it's really cool, very minimalist design.
Yeah.
But they left the line off the E, so it looks like Dunk. So you look like I was like, oh, cool, Dune, and it's the same U shape for me to make every letter, but it looks like Dunk.
As a somebody who has been given the gift of ADHD and as such has mindful consumption of sensory input issues. Mm-hmm. I loathe teaser trailers and minimalist posters for things that I'm into. I just watched the Stranger Things season 4 teaser trailer, and thank you. That you pretty much. That's exactly what I was gonna say. What the fuck? Give me something.
No, tease. Well, no, if you're gonna tease, like tease that it exists.
I think I don't like being teased. I think that's what it boils down to. Don't tease me, bro.
Don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me! I didn't do anything! Ow! Ow!
Touchdown.
Bingo.
That's a contender for episode 1's title, I think.
Your monitor just blinked out.
It goes to sleep after a while.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure of anything.
I don't. Nothing is real.
Yeah, why don't you here was another one, Batman teaser.
No, Arrival.
image.
No.
A Blade Runner and Arrival. He was the guy that did Arrival and Blade Runner, so it's like his Dune adaptation is going to be really
The sequel to Blade Runner?
chef's kiss, mwah.
It has to be.
So, I was over at Angie's house the other day, and she's just had a movie on because she loves cinema, and she's like, "I just popped this on." It was Blade Runner that I hadn't seen in forever, and it was one of those moments where, the soundtrack was really front and center, and I just had this thought because I knew we were, going to be doing episode 0 of this podcast soon. What are a couple films where you think that the soundtrack was just pure perfection? And for me, Blade Runner and Clockwork Orange are probably my top 2.
So many. I mean, you could dive so deep into that. I mean, Chris, you remember the original quote from George Lucas was like, "Sound is 50% of cinema."
Is that a thing?
But somebody
I agree with that.
Somebody just said recently that sound is actually 60% of something, and I was like, I probably agree with that more because you could watch the same visuals with shitty sound and be like, "Wow, that's awful."
I have had
laugh tracks are a thing.
I have had an idea for taking actually your film and doing an instrumental score over it from start to finish.
Shameless self-promotion right now. We're talking about The Inside. So this is a movie that Chris and John and I all worked on last 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Is it been that fucking?
It's actually it's rounding out its run, and where I'm going to go to Atlanta, I guess, in a couple weeks, and go to the Women in Horror Film Festival.
Nice.
Cool.
Because we're up for Best Thriller down there. So
It's cool.
it's a cool film. If you ever want to catch it, I'll throw up a link on this episode to where you can order the Blu-ray because that's the best way to see it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have heavy bias, but it's pretty fucking good.
Oh yeah, we put our heart and soul into this film. We really love it. We shot it locally. We shot it all around town, and yeah, I'll get to. We'll talk some more about that later. Like if we ever get into Red Letter Media or other things like that, like we can go a little bit deeper into the inside. But I didn't want to go for this one. Didn't really want to touch too far into it. But yeah, it's there.
I mean, the main thing I was hoping to get out of this was that the microphone levels were good and that to kind of get a feel for
exactly.
Are we going to be able to, fill an hour, for example? And we're way past that. And I don't want it to end.
We haven't.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Have I even answered the fucking question yet?
No.
So I did. I watched The Good Place, in which you have to watch, The Animatrix, which is what I've been listening to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started remodeling my laundry room this weekend.
First off, how long have you owned that house?
Not a year.
It took me probably 13 years to embrace, you need to learn how to build shit and maybe fix up your dumpy ass house. And I mean, I'm totally vibing with it now, but I mean, I admire you for already kind of being
fun.
there, Yeah.
I like
it
building
really
stuff.
is.
That's fun.
And there is an art.
It's fucking infuriating.
There is an art to it.
when you're not
It can be
trained.
art.
When you have to rely on YouTube videos. It's the worst. I had to do that when I built a fence. Side story.
For drywall, my advice is just bring somebody in who does drywall.
All right,
so you're going to be sanding until the day you die. If you're me.
I sold this house that we bought last year, and I built a fence that took me like a year and a half to build around the back of the property, and I drove by it today and I saw a couple of pickets had fallen down, and I was like, Nice.
Now, were they the early pickets from when you started the project? Or
I think they were like end of the road pickets.
Okay. So the quality kind of dipped towards the end. You were just like, I need to nail these motherfuckers up here and sell this thing.
I was like, I need to get this out of my life.
Yeah.
That fence has a lot. So here's
John started helping me with the fence and then eventually gave up like a sane man.
I talked about helping you quite a bit. I came over and helped with something the one day. There was some yard action.
So that's the start.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
No one listening to this can fucking see what I'm showing.
What John's showing us is a picture of a washer and a dryer.
A fancy washer and dryer.
Very fancy. It's not. It's a front loading. It's very.
The point's this. There's just wall and trim.
Oh, okay. It's the trim.
Jesus Christ. So it took 4 hours. Now there's a board. And the trim's gone.
All right. Look at that. That is
very good.
Nice.
Very good.
There's an outlet plugged into it now.
Before and afterness.
I think the board is symbolic because that's where our audience is right now.
6 hours later, there's 2 boards and a shelf.
Oh, fuck me.
Is that I think that's too close.
Let me see.
That's a lot.
Oh, wow. Oh, so are you building, or is this like a cabinet that
So
you're building?
there's going to be a cabinet here.
If John sends me these photos, I'll put them in the
the
final video.
You didn't say you're doing cabinetry because cabinetry is like
I'm remodeling my laundry room.
Well, but I mean that could be like drywall and like a shit shelf.
Right.
Like this is like a legit carpentry here.
Let me ask you, what was the onus behind this project? Like, why did you take
my
this on?
wife doesn't. So.
If you just ended it at my wife,
wife,
that's
period.
Probably
that's really
Amanda's never gonna be on this.
Bro, she lost interest 5 seconds into this. So at the old house, right? If you really want to do the genealogy on this,
yes, let's get into genealogy.
Mormons.
The old house, the laundry room is in the basement. It's like dark and like damp and weird walls and stuff. And so we had to buy a whole new house.
Right.
And now the laundry room's like upstairs. It's on the same floor as our bedroom. It's clean. It's nice.
That's nice.
It's definitely an upgrade.
It's swanky. I've been there.
It's not ideal, apparently. And so we need shelving for each of the laundry baskets.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
That's 6. Apparently, is the right number of shelves.
Right. You should be remodeling based on workflow. I respect that.
So this Amanda's the one that does laundry. I very rarely, like maybe once a year, will do laundry.
Jesus.
And I usually get yelled at for doing it. I'm like,
oh, okay, all right.
I could do fucking laundry.
I'm waiting for the obligatory scope creep joke.
Nobody said we'd be talking about laundry today.
Actually,
I'll just play up to the trope, but please continue.
We've been able to
Keep going.
It's been okay.
I'm trying to teach my 3-year-old to use his logic, and it's really crazy. His logic is impenetrable. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, so Jack, why do you want to sleep in the big bed? He's like, because I'm a big boy. And I'm like, fuck! He's like,
big boy?
Big boys sleep in the big bed with mommy and daddy.
That's how it works.
I mean, I probably traumatized my son because of it, but we did not do the co-sleeping thing. It was,
You did it the right way.
No,
I don't think there's any one right way.
Makes any sense.
But I do think there's lots of wrong ways.
We're backing this up to an earlier point that we made in this podcast where I was like, how's living with your daughter or child in the bed with you who's just now gotten out and in her own room, but I can't get my 3-year-old out of our bed because he just won't.
No, it's but I was saying fucking
Velcro. Yeah, Velcro his ass to his bed.
But like Hannah's finally like, and then now like I miss it, and I'm fucking emo about it.
I know it's yeah.
And like, God damn it!
And that
I want them out when it's convenient for me.
Exactly.
And I don't want them out when my weird ass emotions.
Yep.
Get in the way.
Dude, that's not weird. We talked about this. My son is 14. My son is 14. He has a parade of friends coming in and out, and up until about 2 weeks ago, his bedroom was right next to mine upstairs, and I was and he would just interrupt every 2 seconds and like, wait, there's a random person I've never met before and you're bringing them into my bedroom when I'm trying to watch TV. And
get the fuck out of here.
So anyway, I moved him downstairs And then I remember we painted the room downstairs. We moved him down. We got him all set up, and it was really like he likes his new space. Cool. He's making art there. Wonderful. I get upstairs, thinking like, okay, now I have the whole top floor of the house to myself, and this is going to be like cool. I'm going to get a velvet rope to keep him from even walking up the stairs. This is mine now. And I sat down, and I just got really, really sad. And like he doesn't come and visit anymore. And I'm like,
shut out.
I'm like looking at just imagine I'm like looking at, I'm over exaggerating for the, for the animated version of this, but I'm at the top of the stairs. I'm looking down, waiting for my son to come say hi. And I'm like, there's a tear, a single tear.
You need to animate yourself, like do a doodle of yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
have that kind
Yeah.
of
Just with the total like sad face, like pouting mouth.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, loving your child is an act of slowly letting go. And it's hard.
I won't talk about what I've been watching and doing very much for very long. I've watched a lot of movies lately, too many. And I was trying to tell them what we should watch, I guess later on down the line.
Who's them?
Chris and Angie, who was laying up here with us earlier, but I guess she bounced. So I got this thing, it's Letterboxd, if you're not familiar with it.
Nope.
It helps me track what I've watched because I forget
I
what
just
I watch.
signed up for it.
It's like a...
The fuck is Letterboxd?
It's like basically just a list that helps you like track what you watch. You just plug it in and say, I watched this. And you can rate it, and it's great because I would totally fucking forget everything I've watched in like the last 2 weeks since I originally suggested we watch bear movies. Because I watched all those bear movies, and then we watched a bunch of other films after that. I guess let's talk about Oscar films. Do you guys watch any Oscar films lately? Because I watched Joker, and I watched Parasite.
Should we pull up the list?
I watched 1917 in theaters. I thought that was really great.
I've only seen Joker.
Parasite.
I've only seen Joker, and I absolutely loved it.
See,
I love the Joker.
That was my thing with
I already ranted at Chris about it.
Oh God! See, for me, Joker was like, okay, that was a movie. I was like,
that was a movie.
I didn't really like it. I just kind of left it like in the middle, like where the scales were balanced. I was like, okay, whatever. Good job, Joker. You aren't this
nice movie, Joker.
Yeah. You aren't this thinky feely piece I expected.
This is where I usually silently judge you for being like a film snob.
No,
right? Because I'm just like looking at it from a fanboy perspective of hands down best Batman movie ever. Holy shit, what a great performance, and and that was cool. Some shit blew up at the end. Like that's kind of my process.
I don't know if it's.
I'd love to hear. Anyway, sorry, John, but I'd love to hear why it didn't turn you on.
Okay.
Go ahead. John
I'll tell
first.
you in a minute.
No, Michael hasn't talked enough.
No. John say. I've been talking this whole time, dude. And laughing.
We all have. It's all good.
So, I on the one hand, I'll agree with Michael and say that the Joker is what I expected it to be. You've got Joaquin Phoenix. You've got a subject matter and an aesthetic clearly out from the gate that they were going for. I would have been disappointed if it was anything less. And so in a certain way, because it is what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, would you say that about Taxi Driver?
No, because Taxi had fucking no expectations.
All right.
The Joker had expectations going into it. This wasn't some art fucking film with some like nobody in it and directing it and everything else. Like it had expectations to it.
Technically,
like, it needed to be good.
I thought it was so proficient. Like it was beautifully shot. It was very masterfully edited. I thought it was very ham-fisted. I think that was where it came across as the message at the end was extremely ham-fisted.
There's no arguing that.
What's the message?
The message about
you didn't see the ending? I'm just fucking
where he shoots what's his face? Not Alec Baldwin, but
the message is fuck the 1%.
De Niro, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, about societal differences and, classism and things like this. I thought it was really...
I don't think that's it.
You don't think it's about class?
I think that's fucking superficial bullshit.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay.
I can't wait.
We got us a debate now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So and the other big thing that I thought was super, super uninspired was the inclusion of the make-believe girlfriend plot line, I was like, man, this feels kind of forced, and I didn't really want that. I was like, I get that he has the Tyler Durden sort of feelings about stuff, but I was like, I felt like they included that almost as an afterthought.
Brad Pitt was fake too, right?
What?
You mean like in Fight Club, or are you just saying in real life?
Yeah,
like
I know.
He's not a real person.
He's not.
But that was my initial thought
That
when I
changes
saw the girlfriend inclusion in that. I was like, well, okay.
Was that your first reaction, or at the end of the film?
I knew it was coming, and I hadn't read anything about the movie, and I was like, oh, she's fake. That's not real. This is his. He's imagining her.
I mean, I didn't mind it, and all right. Now here's my all-purpose justification for
I love
brushing
that we're arguing
aside
about this.
brushing aside any. Oh, this movie about a comic book character was ham-fisted. I kind of feel like, if that's your subject matter, then it's not just going to be ham-fisted, but it's just gonna be ham. Just ham city.
It's just gonna be ham,
right? I mean, The Fifth Element was a bit over the top, but
that movie's designed to be that way, though.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
Go ahead, John. You have a thought.
Yeah, John, tell us your wrong opinion about the Joker.
Tell me why you're wrong. High five.
I thought Tuthill and I were going to be the ones kind of going to war here. I wasn't expecting to pick on the nice guy with the beard. Why don't you?
Shit, that doesn't matter.
Okay, you don't think that the whole monologue at the end about his
That's not the point.
The whole movie boiled down to that, though.
That's what they said.
No, we watch different movies.
Go ahead, John. Tell us. Your
A class
perspective.
struggle is the environment that it takes place in.
Right.
That's something that's fucking existed forever. That's not.
Right, that's nothing new.
Ready for number 4? Prescient? That's not. It's not fucking Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump.
Ooh yeah.
This is something that's gone on forever. The class struggle is not the point.
Okay, I agree with you on this, that this movie has nothing to fucking do with Donald Trump or anything contemporary, because like you said, it's been going on forever. But when I talk about being ham-fisted or not, I'm like, a movie like Parasite does it so much better.
Well, I haven't seen Parasite, so
okay.
I can't fucking...
Well, fucking go watch Parasite,
Joker
God damn it.
Parasite and...
Because you ever see that rant on YouTube? There's this redneck guy talking about, wow, that foreign language movie that should have won. You know what I'm talking about? The guy that's like redheaded and he's
I
like,
haven't seen that.
He's like, if it wins foreign language movie, it shouldn't have won Best Picture. He's imagine getting so pissed off about the Oscars.
I cannot
the
imagine
one guy
that.
from The Blaze that's like, oh, it's the Korean movie when the thing. Like,
this guy got so up in arms about this.
Oh man!
Side note,
I tune all those motherfuckers out because I'm older than you, which means and I have a heart problem, so I'm probably closer to dying than either of you. So I make a
boomer.
Exactly. I'll take it. I made a conscious decision to like dial the noise out, basically. But anyway,
go ahead, John. Sorry.
The story in the Joker that's worth relating to, like any fucking story, like fucking Frozen. Is a story.
I can't wait. I have my seatbelt on and I'm going.
Buckle up, motherfuckers, because we're going deep.
It's like Space Mountain, but instead of like at a theme park in Disney, it's John Dayton's brain. Let's sit back and go for this ride.
Yes,
right.
I'm ready.
All right, man.
So your main character is somebody who is literally just trying to live and bring joy and like relate to the people around him, and is unable to do so because the world writ large does not understand him, doesn't want to understand him, and goes out of the way to put their lack of understanding of him forefront and center, and to the detriment of the main character. That's the whole point. And what ends up happening, right, is this character who is ostracized by everyone else all of a sudden finds a power within and is able to use it to motivate and animate other people, characters that bring certain levity to certain things at some points of time, but other times not so much. And so this character is just fuck. I was trying to connect to the Frozen.
It's okay. It's okay.
But look, at the end of the day, the main character, it's about being disconnected, and what do you do in a society that does not make the same effort you do to be authentic,
right,
and genuine? I think in your interrelationships.
And I mean, outside of this is a Tears of a Clown revenge fantasy.
Yeah.
The thing that was really cool was that he was isolated. He was kicked and just kind of brutalized by society.
Violence, right.
He was dragged out on a television show and mocked. He was just like basically shit on by anyone and everyone that could shit on him. And it was really interesting how that turned around at the end of the movie, and he became like this leader of this movement. And so that was, and I like the message of,
he becomes,
we're all that guy in one flavor or another. We're all just kind of trying to muddle through, and there's a lot of suffering along the way. I'm not advocating violent overthrow you're right. Why am I even qualified? Maybe it's the beer talking. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, hold on. And the reason why I think it's important is because, and this is what I screamed at you at the Wilder's house the other month, is that when the guy that's, I can't remember the character's name, or it's the lawyer from Billions, but the larger guy from the clown school comes in with the dwarf, and they're like, "Oh, where have you been?"
Yeah,
like he stabs the one guy in the eye.
Oh yeah. That was a good scene.
He was a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
And he was overtly a piece of shit
yeah.
and an opportunist and someone just trying to take advantage of somebody.
Right.
Whereas the person, I don't know why he had to be a dwarf, but he was, and I don't know, someone can unpack that later.
I think the correct nomenclature is little person.
They were going for the circus vibe, I think. And I think you touching the mic, not trying to be your parent here, but the touching the mic is, I mean, you know what?
He's getting into it.
You know what? I mean, I'm gonna go from saying you shouldn't do it to you absolutely should, because you'll go blind if you do yourself. That.
Yeah. and this goes to my thing. It's not just a class struggle. It's not. The guy wasn't just reacting against poor people and rich people. He was reacting against dicks.
I don't think that's surface level, like that is the movie. Like
no.
I think it was all of those things at once.
The guy was reacting against dicks of all kinds.
Yeah.
And he was forced in a position where he gained greater access to bigger dicks. Like someone like De Niro that was manipulating someone like his mom even.
But the entire world around him, like all that strife that was going on, like the socio-political strife that was going around him that he ended up inadvertently being like the, symbol for, like that to me was like the center focus of the film. Like
that's what allowed him to gain the prominence that he had.
The prescience.
Guess the it's 5.
Oh god, I know it's almost 5:00. I gotta pee really fast.
No,
just really.
I do too. Oh damn it. So, anyways, now that he's gone.
Now that motherfucker's gone,
right?
Let's talk shit about. Yeah, exactly. You have the floor now.
No, so it's to me it was always like the guy clearly had a sense of morality. I don't think it changed from the beginning to the end of the movie, right? Like when you look at the arc, god damn it, now it needs to be in here. But when you look at an arc of a lot of characters from any story, it's because they were wrong, or they were misjudged about something, and then someone learned a thing, whether it was the main character or the audience, the chorus or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you had like this resolution, and I don't think Arthur Fleck, his morality changed through the movie. I think he had the same moral and ethical viewpoint from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. And it was his environment around that changed that allowed it to be expressed in different ways. But he in and of himself was always the same.
You don't think really? You don't think that he kind of cracked or kind of,
We think he cracked. I don't think he.
Well, I mean, I think whether or not he thinks he cracked or not is almost irrelevant, because they are really trying to emphasize that this person is, delusional, and I mean maybe he's sick. Let's not say whether or not he cracked, because that's like what does that mean?
That mean the literal definition of any mental illness is that it's outside the norm, right? It's not an impulse that it's not. It's an impulse that all of us feel, but when you're mentally ill, it's an impulse that becomes a detriment to your life.
My teeth were floating. I'm sorry. I missed all that.
It's fine.
We basically
we just figured out why you were wrong, and I'm
yeah,
right.
we've pretty much established that you're wrong, and you can just listen to it back later. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
not really.
So I got 9 minutes.
God damn it.
So
having some performance anxiety here.
My point was in most stories, you either have a main character that has a moral arc and like realizes something and has a change of heart, or like otherwise, or
right in a good movie. Right.
I don't think Arthur Fleck's moral and ethical compass changed from the beginning to the end of the movie. I think what changed is the society at large and the reaction to those actions. And I think to your point, the class struggle aspect made it topical and made it relevant, and so that it could be seized onto as a figure. But as a person who sees the world differently, and in this case we're saying it's mental illness, because mental illness is anything that is a detriment to a person, that there's aspects of it that all of us feel, but we don't let it become prohibitive to us living our life. Whereas Arthur Fleck was clearly prohibitive living a normal life because of his thing, but he didn't change. What changed was the world around him and made him a symbol for that.
Right.
And so to me, it's more about what do you do, and how a society reacts to people being different will, in the long run, greatly impact how the society looks and forms.
But you thought Joker was a good movie, basically. Like you liked it.
I liked it.
Okay.
I'm not watching it over and over again.
That's a really great. I hadn't really thought of the that as society's reaction to something that's outside of the norm. But I have been thinking about that theme as it relates to. I'm hearing from a lot of my progressive friends that Sanders is too left to win and Warren is too left to win, and then I look at. For example, I see that socialized medicine is happening in every developed country except ours. And I'm like, well, it's interesting how norms are defined I guess this is my point, how norms are defined in a society and how we kind of cling to them or kind of regurgitate them to each other, because I think that a lot of times we're just not comfortable with the true nature of reality, which is that everything is impermanent and everything is changing.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes.
I think the only thing I can.
You're not the only philosopher here, John. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No,
that's not true. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. The only thing I would add is just watch Parasite, because I think some of the smaller subtext in Joker, I think was handled much better and in a way cooler way in Parasite than it was in Joker. And everybody who's
Parasite is on my list.
That was the thing, is people that loved Joker and people that hated Joker to me were like on the same pile, and I was like, whatever, like meh. That movie I walked out of and I was like, okay.
Even if you weren't into the film, the performance.
No, of course, yeah. I mean, I think
Joaquin Phoenix's performance was just
amazing.
I think,
but again, I didn't expect anything less either.
I think he did a better job in the Scientology movie.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Don't know. Like to see it though.
That was when he went through his phase, right?
Yeah.
I was comparing it to other Joker
weird
performances. I think that it's interesting. We've had 3 legendary actors at the top of their game playing that
we don't
character.
Have time for this.
What to do? Oh, I mean, but what?
He's got a role.
But we talked about this.
The Master
would
that's
be
what
a great.
it was. The Master.
Right on.
I think it was more with Angie that I was talking about this.
Yeah.
With. I find Heath Ledger's and Joaquin Phoenix performances commiserate with each other.
Yeah.
But I find them very, very different for very specific reasons.
Right.
And I like both of them for very specific reasons that are divergent
from
each other. Because I don't think it's the same character. I don't think Heath Ledger's Joker is the same thing.
Totally different.
As Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. I think they're complete different points and they're not the same thing.
I feel that Nicholson and Michael Keaton deserve credit for making a comic book movie that, I don't know, kind of like showed everybody that the norm for what a comic book movie could be, we can deviate from that and make some cool motherfucking shit. I mean, at the time, that was great. Fair. I mean, looking back, it's like, okay,
you'd have no Marvel without them.
That's true.
No, I mean, I think you could go further. I think you could go to Superman. I mean, that's like the beginning of the modern superhero era, isn't it? It was like the first Superman.
The Christopher Reeves Superman movies, not so much the one with Richard Pryor, but those were great.
You don't think I feel like that could kind of show people like Michael the model.
Bay. But that was very much. Which are you talking about? 80s it's Superman or
no? Christopher Reeves.
Yeah, I don't think that was a reboot of the concept.
But that's Marvel.
I know.
I don't
that's
think
modern superhero movies.
But I don't think that I love the first Superman was that's a great film, but I don't think that it was here's a vastly different presentation of a comic book that you know to be this one static thing. I do feel that the Batman. The Batman movie was that.
I think from a storytelling perspective, I think it's more in the zeitgeist. But I think clearly Batman, we progressed from Keaton to whose nipples are bigger, and
we also went to like how many times can we show those damn pearls dropping? Like when Batman's parents get killed, like. I'm getting so sick of seeing that same shot, which they had in the Joker. God damn it, they had the shot of the pearls dropping.
You need to throw that into one of your movies as kind of a fuck you.
But you know what? I appreciate because I think
we don't have time to delve into it, but yeah,
no, we don't. But I appreciated the nod, of the meta, as much as and you'll talk about this till the cows come home. How much meta humor is terrible.
John's pointing his finger at me vigorously.
I mean, if we could end this on a cliffhanger where at least one of us is totally assed up, that would be great.
Face down and assed up.
I appreciated the acknowledgement of the meta that the Joker was in, which is what I interpreted the pearls, the parents getting killed scene.
That to me wasn't a wink and a nod. Like it wasn't the meta that like you would find in the Star Wars movies where he's like, "Well, do you talk or do I talk right now? This is funny." Hee hee. Like that. Okay. That's totally different. Like animals.
But it was
That's
still
so funny because just Lucas and dialogue is just don't go well together.
We're gonna
Star Wars movies were corny pieces of shit.
We're gonna talk about this in a later episode.
We have 1 minute left. Let's bring up Star Wars.
Yeah. So
I just did it.
We're gonna talk about Star Wars. We're gonna talk about all the shit that we talked about today.
Yeah. You put three dudes in a room together, Star Wars is gonna eventually come up.
Is that how it works?
Eventually, I'll talk about some other shit that I have. I have this huge list of movies that I wanted to get to, but we're not going to get there today. But what I want to do is
smack your hand with a ruler, young man.
Let's talk about Star Wars maybe next episode, and we can focus on that. We can get it off the plate, just so we know we addressed it.
We're going to talk about Star Wars and get off.
Just get it out there.
Are we doing Star Wars in general, or are we doing the most recent trilogy?
Let's do the most recent trilogy.
Because I got homework I got to do.
What I talked to Chris about was like, okay, let's put 3 or 4 movies out there every episode because we know we can't fill an episode with one movie unless it's one we really, really love. So if we say we're going to talk about the most recent movement in Star Wars, like the trilogy and maybe a couple of the side stories like Solo or Rogue One or whatever.
I absolutely think we should slap those in there because that changes the dynamic.
I think
it raises and lowers the bar depending on which of those two that you mentioned.
Right. There's good and bad, but I'll save it for the episode.
I think it's indicative of the modern world of content consumption that we're impressed upon versus when the original trilogy came out. But that's just me.
I don't know. I agree.
I mean, how can it not be influenced by the times? Speaking of the time, we have been recording for 1 hour and 36.
This is a good episode. Yeah. So why don't we have our sign off? Let's work on our sign off. So, but I'll work on it.
Nothing fucking matters.
Yeah.